Namaste students, welcome back to my channel. Students, today in this video, we'll take a topic which is familiar to you, and the name of the topic is ozone. Now, the question arises in your mind that what we'll study in ozone. We know that it is present in the stratosphere, it protects us from UV radiation. So, what other thing are there in the ozone to study? But students, believe me, many things of ozone are there which are not known by you. So today in this video, we'll study all those facts of ozone which are not known to you. So without any delay, let's get started. So students, first we'll start with the general topics, means we'll move from known to unknown. So first, if we write the known facts about the ozone, that ozone having formula O3 is present in stratosphere. It is present in stratosphere. This is a known fact for us. And what is stratosphere? Stratosphere is the second layer of the atmosphere. This is the first known fact. Now, if I write the second known fact, that in the stratosphere, this ozone is formed. This ozone is formed by the action of UV rays, by the action of UV rays on dioxygen. This preparation I am talking about, which is naturally formed in our atmosphere. How O3 is naturally formed in our atmosphere, in the stratosphere, by the action of the UV radiation on ozone, on oxygen, we get ozone. Next known fact about the ozone is O3 protect us. This ozone, O3 means the ozone layer. This layer protect us from UV rays. This protect us from the UV rays. Now the next point is O3 is depleted either by number of factors. Ozone is depleted by a number of factors like nitric oxide, atomic oxygen, free hydroxyl radicals, and man-made chlorofluorocarbons. Ozone is depleted by a number of factors, and out of number of factors, some of the important factors are nitric oxide, which is obtained either from the flights of the supersonic aeroplanes or during the lightning in the atmosphere. Atomic oxygen, hydroxyl free radical, and man-made chlorofluorocarbon. Now, the depletion caused by these factors was studied by number of scientists, and in 1995 3 scientists were awarded with the Nobel Prize who worked in the depletion of the ozone, as a result of which the world get to know that ozone undergoes depletion due to these different factors. So in 1995, PJ Crutzen, MJ Molina, and FS Rowland. PJ Crutzen, MJ Molina, and FS Rowland, they were awarded with the Nobel Prize in 1995 for studying in the topic of the depletion of the ozone. Now, next, how ozone depleted by these factors? We'll write the reactions. First, I'll take NO. When this NO reacts with ozone, it get converted into NO2, and ozone get converted into O2. Means ozone molecule get converted into the dioxygen. If this O3 reacts with the atomic oxygen, then we will get the molecule of dioxygen. When this O3 reacts with the hydroxyl free radical, it get converted into OOH free radical plus O2, and this OOH free radical, it reacts with O free radical to form O2 plus OH free radical. Then this OH free radical again reacts with another O3 molecule, and the reaction repeated again and again. So in this way, the OH free radical, that is the hydroxyl free radical, results in the depletion of the ozone. Similarly, if I talk about chlorofluorocarbon, Cl2, CF2, due to H nu, means due to the photon, it undergoes to form Cl free radical and CClF2 free radical. This Cl free radical reacts with ozone to form ClO free radical plus O2. This ClO free radical undergoes a slow decomposition to form Cl free radical plus O free radical, and then this ClO free radical reacts with this O free radical to form Cl free radical plus O2. Cl free radical plus O2. Now this Cl free radical again reacts with the another molecule of the ozone and get converted into and convert ozone into O2. So in this way, NO, OH free radical and CFC results in the depletion of the ozone. Now next we will talk about the structure of ozone. Next we will talk about the structure of ozone. In fifth we will talk about the structure of ozone, which also you know. I hope which also you know, because in 11th class we have studied about the structures in the chemical bonding. So in case of ozone, the central oxygen is sp2 hybridized having a lone pair. Therefore the shape is bent shape. And here the structure is like this: O, single bond O, double bond O. But it is not necessary that always double bond is present between these two oxygen. Therefore, there is a resonating structure, that is O double bond O, single bond O. And because of these two resonating structure, we get a resonating hybrid structure, that is O single bond O, partial double bond character. And with the help of the bond length, we get to know that yes, these resonating structures are correct. Why? Because first of all, if we considered this as a true structure, if we considered this as a correct structure, then according to us, the OO bond length should be equal to the double bond, and this OO bond length should be equal to the single. But in this case, the OO bond length, both the OO bond length are first of all equal, and second thing, these lengths are in between the single bond and the double bond, and that property is exactly proved by this structure, that both the bonds are equal and they possess partial double bond character, as a result of which their bond length exists between the single bond and the double bond. So this is all about the structure. So these are the known facts which you have studied in your junior classes. Now we will study the preparation of ozone. What we will study? We will study the preparation of ozone. Now ozone is prepared with the help of the dioxygen. First of all, ozone is prepared with the help of the dioxygen, and when we pass a silent electric discharge through a dioxygen, then we get ozone. So how we will prepare ozone? Preparation. In preparation, we may write that ozone is prepared when a silent electric discharge, is passed through dioxygen. So when we pass a silent electric discharge through a dioxygen, then we get ozone. Now, for the preparation of the ozone, we'll use a special type of apparatus which is known as ozonizer. Which is known as ozonizer. So, what is ozonizer? Ozonizer is a special apparatus, a special apparatus which is used to prepare ozone, which is used to prepare ozone from dioxygen. Ozone from dioxygen. We'll use two special type of ozonizers, and the name of those ozonizers are Siemens ozonizer and Brody's ozonizer. Ozonizer. So these are actually the apparatus which are used to convert oxygen into ozone, and on the basis of the name of the scientist, the name becomes Siemens ozonizer and Brody's ozonizer. Now what happened? The O2 not completely get converted into O3, means only 10% of dioxygen get converted into O3, and after 10% we'll get a mixture of O2 and O3, and that is known as ozonide oxygen, So O2 gives O3, and now the mixture is known as ozonide oxygen. Now the reaction, this reaction is an endothermic reaction. Means this reaction required heat to proceed. That's why it is an endothermic reaction. Now there is an interesting fact that here I have written a term that is the silent electric discharge. Now what do you mean by silent electric discharge? An electric discharge without a spark. There is a spark in the electricity. So an electric discharge without a spark, or you may say that sparkless electric discharge, is known as silent electric discharge. So why we need only silent electric discharge? Is there question in your mind that why we use only silent electric discharge, not simply electric discharge? There is a reason behind this. Now what is the reason behind this? The reason behind this is the silent electric discharge produce less amount of heat. That's why we'll use silent electric discharge. Clear? Now again one question arises in your mind that the reaction is an endothermic reaction, and we know that endothermic reaction moves forward with the increase in the temperature, with the increase in the heat amount. Means if we increase the heat amount, then the reaction will proceed in the forward direction, and if the reaction will increase in the forward direction, will move in the forward direction, we get more amount of ozone. So why we are using silent electric discharge? Because I told you that silent electric discharge is actually an electric discharge without a spark, as a result of which it produces less amount of heat, and we want more amount of heat because the reaction is endothermic reaction. So why we use silent electric discharge? Now the reason behind this is ozone. This ozone is not stable at high temperature. This ozone undergoes decomposition at high temperature. Therefore, we will not use simple electric discharge, because if we use simple electric discharge, a large amount of heat is produced, and that amount of heat results in the decomposition of the formed ozone. But yes, because the reaction is endothermic and we want heat, we want temperature, that's why we use silent electric discharge. So the heat released during the silent electric discharge is sufficient to convert O2 to O3, but it is not sufficient to decompose O3 back into O2. Because of this reason, we'll use silent electric discharge. I hope it is clear to you. Why we'll use silent electric discharge? So that we'll get lesser amount of heat. Why we want lesser amount of heat? Because at more heat, at more temperature, ozone decomposed into oxygen, that we don't want, because we want to prepare ozone. And why we want heat? Because the reaction is endothermic reaction, and endothermic reaction is not proceed without the involvement of heat. That's why there is a use of silent electric discharge, so that we get that amount of heat which causes the reaction but does not causes the decomposition. Now, now I told you that a whole oxygen is not get converted into ozone. Only 10% of oxygen get converted into ozone. Therefore, we get a mixture which is known as ozonide oxygen. Now, for obtaining pure oxygen, pure ozone, to obtain pure ozone from the ozonide oxygen, we'll cool the temperature of the ozonide oxygen. We'll cool the temperature of the ozonide oxygen by passing the ozonide oxygen through liquid air. What we are doing? We are purifying the ozone. We are trying to get the pure ozone from the ozonide oxygen. For this, we'll pass the ozonide oxygen through the liquid air, as a result of which the ozone condensed over the oxygen. Ozone condensed over the oxygen, and after condensing, still some amount of oxygen is left, and that amount of oxygen is removed by simple fractional distillation. After this, we will do simple fractional distillation, and as a result of which we get pure ozone. We get pure ozone. Clear? So in this we will get a mixture of ozone and oxygen, that is known as ozonide oxygen. To obtain pure oxygen from the ozonide oxygen, we will cool the temperature of the ozonide oxygen by passing it through the liquid air. When we pass the ozonide oxygen through the liquid air, ozone condensed over the oxygen, and the liquid ozone which we get still contains some amount of oxygen which can be easily separated by using fractional distillation, and finally we get a pure ozone. So in this way we can prepare ozone in our lab. And for the preparation of the ozone, I already told you, we'll use a special apparatus, and that is known as ozonizer, and we use two main ozonizer, that is Siemens ozonizer and Brodie's ozonizer. So this is all about the preparation of the ozone. Now we'll talk the physical properties of ozone. Now first of all, we'll talk the color of ozone. Physical properties. Pure ozone is pale blue in color, having characteristic smell. What is the first property? Pure ozone is pale blue in color with a characteristic smell. So it is a pale blue. Gas. Ozone is a pale blue gas. That's why when we observe the earth from the above, it is surrounded by a blue covering. It is surrounded by a blue covering because in our stratosphere we know that we have a layer of ozone, and that ozone is a pale blue gas. So pure ozone is a pale blue gas with a pungent smell. Second thing, in lower concentration, if its concentration is low, in lower concentration it is harmless. It is harmless. But if the concentration rises above 100 ppm, above 100 ppm, ppm means parts per million. So if we have ozone in our lower concentration, if we have ozone in low concentration, then no problem. The gas is harmless. But if the concentration of the ozone rises above 100 ppm, then breathing becomes difficult. Breathing becomes difficult, resulting in headache and nausea. Resulting in headache and nausea. Headache and nausea. So what is the second physical property? Second physical property is that in lower concentration it is harmless, but in higher concentration, means if the concentration rises above 100 ppm, then the breathing becomes difficult for us and results in the headache and the nausea. Next point, the third point, it is heavier than air. It is slightly heavier than air. It is slightly heavier than air. It is slightly heavier than air. Next physical property is it is slightly soluble in water. It is slightly soluble in water, but readily soluble in organic solvents. But readily soluble in organic solvents. Organic solvents. So it is slightly soluble in the water, but it is readily soluble in the organic solvents. Therefore, chlorofluorocarbon and nitric oxide, they results in the depletion of the ozone layer. Next point, fifth point, it is diamagnetic. It is diamagnetic. In dioxygen, we have studied that dioxygen is paramagnetic, but the ozone is diamagnetic. So these are the physical properties of the ozone, that in pure, if we have pure ozone, it is a pale blue gas with a pungent, with a characteristic smell. In low concentration, it is harmless, but when the concentration rises above 100 ppm, then it results in headache and nausea, and breathing becomes difficult. It is slightly heavier than air. It is slightly soluble in water, but readily soluble in the organic solvent, and it is diamagnetic. Now we will deal with the chemical properties of the ozone. What we will study now? The chemical properties of ozone. Now, in chemical properties of ozone, first of all, you have to keep in your mind that ozone is less reactive than the oxygen. Ozone is more reactive than the oxygen because it is thermodynamically less stable than the oxygen. So we will take the chemical properties. We will take the chemical properties. Now in chemical properties, first we will talk about the action with litmus. Action with litmus. So just like that of the oxygen, just like that of the dioxygen, it is also neutral to litmus. It is also neutral to litmus. It is also neutral to litmus. Now next we will talk about the decomposition. Next we will talk about the decomposition. Decomposition. Now that the ozone is less stable, thermodynamically less stable than that of the dioxygen, so it decomposes even at the room temperature into O2. Means dioxygen, if we compare dioxygen and ozone, dioxygen is much more stable than that of the ozone. So even at the ordinary room temperature, the ozone slightly slowly get converted into the oxygen. Ozone slowly get converted into the oxygen. Slowly get converted into the oxygen. But if this reaction occur in the presence of catalyst like manganese oxide or platinum, then the reaction becomes fast. So in case of decomposition, we'll write that the ozone is thermodynamically less stable as compared to the dioxygen. Therefore, even at the ordinary room temperature, ozone slowly get converted into the oxygen. And if we use a catalyst like magnesium, like manganese oxide or platinum, then the reaction becomes fast and O3 readily get converted into O2. Now next we'll talk about the oxidizing agent. Now because O3 is thermodynamically unstable, therefore it readily get converted into O2, and when it get converted into O2, it give nascent oxygen, and because of the presence of the nascent oxygen, it acts as a good oxidizing agent. So it oxidizes a number of metals, a number of non-metals, a number of metalloids, a number of compounds and form their oxidized product. So first, if we take the oxidation of metals. Now in oxidation of metals, if I take the example of silver and mercury. So Ag reacts with O3 to form AgO, Ag2O plus O2. Similarly, Hg plus O3 gives Hg2O plus O2. So here Ag get converted into its oxide and O3 get converted into O2. Hg get converted into its oxide and O3 get converted into O2. This one is known as mercurous oxide. And when this mercurous oxide combined with mercury, the mercury lost its meniscus property. And because of the loss of the meniscus property, the mercury get stick in the glass. So what is this? This is the mercurous oxide. When this mercurous oxide combines with the mercury loses its meniscus property, as a result of which it starts sticking in the glass. But we can recover the meniscus of the mercury. By shaking the mixture of mercurous oxide and mercury with water. As a result of which mercurous oxide get dissolved in water and the mercury becomes free. And because mercury becomes free, therefore it retains its meniscus property. So when mercurous oxide mixed with mercury, it loses its meniscus property, as a result of which it starts sticking in the glass, and this is known as tailing of mercury. So what is tailing of mercury? Tailing of mercury is actually a property of a mercury in which it lost its meniscus property and starts sticking in the glass. So we can recover the meniscus property of the mercury by shaking the mixture of mercurous oxide and the mercury with the water, as a result of which water dissolves mercurous oxide and mercury becomes free to show its meniscus property. Now next, second, we will talk about the oxidation of non-metals. So non-metals generally, ozone oxidize non-metal in their moist state. Let us take some example. I, that is iodine, plus H2O plus O3 gives HiO3 plus O2. Similarly, T4 plus H2O plus O3 gives H3PO4 plus O2. Similarly, S8 plus H2O plus O3 gives H2SO4 plus O2. So, ozone results in the oxidation of the non-metal in their moist state. Now next, ozone results in the oxidation of even metalloids. Oxidation of metalloids. Oxidation of metalloids. Why? Because the ozone is the second most powerful oxidizing agent. The first one is the fluorine. This is the first one, and the second one is the ozone. Means ozone is much stronger oxidizing agent than the oxygen. That's why ozone results in the oxidation of the metalloids even. Let us write an examples of the oxidation of metalloids. For example, AS plus O3 plus H2O, it gives H3AsO4 plus O2. Similarly, Sb plus O3 plus H2O, it gives H3SbO4 plus O2. So in this way, the ozone results in the oxidation of the metalloids in their moist state. Now we'll study the oxidation of the compounds. It results in the oxidation of the compounds also, and when ozone reacts with the compound, it forms the oxidized product of that particular compound. Oxidation of compounds. So first I'll take PbS. PbS reacts with O3 to form PbSO4 plus O2. So sulfide get converted into sulfate. Similar reaction we'll observe in CuS, ZnS and CdS. Means CuS get converted into CuSO4, ZnS get converted into ZnSO4 and CdS get converted into CdSO4. So PbS reacts with O3 to form PbSO4 plus O2. Next reaction we get that HCl when reacts with O3, it gives Cl2 plus H2O plus O2. Cl2 plus H2O plus O2, and similar reaction we'll observe with HBr and HI where we get Br2 and I2. Same reaction means HBr plus O3 gives Br2 plus H2O plus O2. Similar reaction with I. Next reaction we get KNO2 reacts with ozone to form KNO3 plus O2. KNO3 plus O2. Next reaction FeSO4 reacts with ozone in the presence of acidic medium to form Fe2SO4 whole thrice, plus H2O plus O2. Next reaction is highly important. Ki plus O3 plus H2O gives KOH plus I2 plus O2. Now why it is important? Because this reaction is used in the quantitative estimation of the ozone. Quantitative estimation of ozone. Now how this reaction is used in the quantitative estimation of ozone? When ozone reacts with excess of potassium iodide solution and which is buffered with a borax buffer, in 11th class we have studied the buffered solution, means the solution whose pH doesn't change by adding a small amount of acid or a small amount of base. So by reacting ozone with excess amount of potassium iodide solution which is which is buffered with a borax buffer whose pH is 9.5, we get iodine. And when we titrate this iodine, with standard sodium thiosulfate solution, we get the quantity of iodine that is formed. And from the reaction we get to know that 1 mole of iodine is produced by 1 mole of ozone. So by getting the quantity of the iodine, we can easily estimate the quantity of the ozone. So in this way, this reaction is used in the quantitative estimation of the ozone. So what happened when ozone is treated with excess of potassium iodide solution, which is buffered with a borax buffer, whose pH is 9.5, means the reaction is proceeded in the basic medium. Then it forms iodine, which on titrating against standard solution of sodium thiosulfate, we get the quantity of the iodine, and from the quantity of the iodine, we can estimate the quantity of the ozone. And if the reaction occur in the acidic medium, then I negative get converted into I3 negative. This I negative get converted into I3 negative plus O2 plus H2. So if this reaction occur in the basic medium, then we get I2, which we can easily titrate against the sodium thiosulfate solution. But if the reaction occur in the acidic medium, instead of I2, we get I3 negative. So this reaction is highly important, because through this reaction, we can estimate the quantity of the ozone. So these are the reactions of the oxidation of compounds. Now, we have studied 4 different reactions of oxidation: oxidation of metal, oxidation of non-metal, oxidation of metalloids, and oxidation of compounds. And in all the reactions, we observe that one of the byproduct is O2. It means the ozone is not completely used in the oxidation reaction. Only the nascent oxygen is used in the reaction. Only this oxygen is used in the reaction, not the whole ozone is used. But we have 2 such exceptions in which ozone is completely utilized in the oxidation reaction. So now we will study the exception of the oxidation reaction. What we will study? The exception of oxidation reaction. Exception. Now what are the exceptions? When we convert SO2 to SO3, whole ozone is utilized in the reaction. We didn't get O2. So when SO2 get converted into SO3 by using O3, whole ozone is participate in the reaction. We didn't get O2 as a byproduct. Similarly, when SnCl2 in the presence of HCl get converted into SnCl4, then also we didn't get O2. So these are the two reactions which are the exceptions of the oxidation reaction, because in other reaction we get dioxygen as a byproduct, but in these reactions we didn't get dioxygen as a byproduct. The whole ozone molecule is participated in the reaction. Now next, if the ozone reacts with the peroxide, the next reaction we will study, that is the reaction of ozone with peroxides. Reaction of ozone with peroxides. Clear? For example, H2O2. When H2O2 reacts with O3, then it forms H2O plus O2. Similarly, when barium peroxide reacts with O3, then it forms BaO plus O2. So whenever oxygen, means whenever ozone reacts with the peroxide, then it liberates dioxygen. So it is a method of the preparation of dioxygen also. So by treating peroxides with the ozone, we can produce dioxygen. We can produce dioxygen. Next, ozonolysis. Ozonolysis or formation of ozonides. So whenever the ozone reacts with alkene or alkyne, then it form ozonide. For example, CH double bond, triple bond CH. When it reacts with O3, it forms an ozonide like this. This is known as ozonide. Similarly, CH2 double bond CH2 plus O3. It gives CH2 double bond CH2 plus O3. It gives CH2 CH2 O like this. So in this way, the alkene and the alkyne reacts with the ozone to form the ozonide. So these are all about the chemical properties of the ozone. Now we'll study the use of ozone. Because of the oxidizing nature of the ozone, it is used for bleaching delicate fabrics, for bleaching delicate fabrics, for purifying water. It used as a germicide. For purifying air in the crowded areas. Clear? Because of its oxidizing property. It is used for bleaching delicate fabrics. It is used for purifying water because it acts as a germicide. It is used for purifying air in the crowded area, and it is used in the oxidation of a number of compounds. Oxidation of a number of compounds to form their oxidized product, which are very useful in our daily life. So these are the uses of the ozone. So students, in this video we have studied about the preparation, about the physical properties, chemical properties, and the uses of the ozone. That's all for today. I'll see you in my next video with a new topic of the oxygen family.